Good day, folks. This is Judy at Green Pastures Farm. Today we're actually fencing in some new ponds that we dug out. These were what we call mud holes. Really old ponds that just, I don't know, some of these ponds were 70 years old. And this particular one in front of us, it's pretty deep now. We took it down. It's probably 15, 16 feet deep. I'll show you the bottom of it in a minute. But what we're doing here is we're right next to the rams. That's the rams and some of our civil pasture. And anyway, we just got our single ram wire here, keeping the rams in their paddock, and they'll be going into the ewes here the 1st of December. So they've only got 2 more weeks, I guess, and they'll be with their ladies. Anyway, what we're doing here is we're putting in a, this is a temporary high tensile 12 gauge fence. So what we're doing is when the cattle come in here, they're not going to be able to get in that pond and muck that up. We've seeded it. We put down the grass seed and unrolled the hay with the Great Judy bale unroller. And then Ben and Isaac and I got into pitchforks and we spread out that roll of hay. And what you're looking at here is basically one big round bale. So 1,200 pound bale, all spread out right where we needed it. And so when the cattle come in here, they can't get into this mud. I'll show you the mud. Look at that. I mean, that's a bank. That's a bank of mud. You don't want to walk out in there because you'll go over your head. It's that deep. Anyway, we came by this big white oak tree, and I told the boys, I said, hold up, let's take a minute. And you can see we took about 25, 30 shiitake mushroom logs off of this, because this was a tree that was just pushed down about 3 weeks ago. So the wild fungi had not inoculated it yet. And so we've got those logs. The rest of that will all be cut up into really high quality firewood. White oak is the highest BTU tree that you can cut up, except for one other. And that one would be hedge, Osage orange. And I'm not, we don't have that around us that often, and you will burn your house down if you're not careful burning that stuff. It gets hot. It's almost like putting rocket fuel in your stove. It puts out a lot of heat, but you got to be careful. You'll burn your stove up. You might burn your house down. But white oak is awesome wood. So that tree there, we won't burn that until next year. So we'll let it season. Look at that tree in the background. That's what they call a wolf tree. Isn't that a beaut? That tree's seen a lot of history. It's probably 200, 250 years old. But I was going to show you the mud. Look at this. This is just out of one pond. So this all was pushed out with Johnny. He like to never got all this pushed out of here. This all came out of this one pond. Now I'm going to show you the hole he left when it took a while for him to get all this out of here. But this is a pond that wasn't doing any good. Just a kind of an eyesore. Wasn't much good for anything. Look at that. That's all mud. So when that dries out, we can bring Johnny back in here, and he can slough that all off out into the pastures, and that'll make some really high quality soil that'll grow us some grass. Now we switch over here. Look at that. So we caught a ½ inch of rain yesterday, and about a week and a half ago we had the ice and the snow, and I think out of that whole period we got about 1 1/4 inches. So you're looking at 1 3/4 inches. There's probably close to 3.5, 4 foot of water in the bottom of that pond now. So this has a pretty good watershed on it. It catches quite a bit of water. But we've got several extra young men with us today. One of them is an intern interviewer. He's interviewing for a possible place in 2021. And of course, Ben and Isaac are showing him the ropes. And the other young fellow is a neighbor that stopped by and is lending a hand out building some fence today. Yeah, Angela, I haven't forgot about you. You're gonna watch this and like, Greg, you said you'd call me when you had fence to build. Well, we still got plenty to build, so yeah, we need to work that out. Anyway, this is the spillway going out that way. So it has a real easy spillway. The water will ease down that ditch over there, and there won't be any volume. There's not going to be a huge current of water flowing over that. But look at the hay we put in there. See that? It goes right down to the bottom of the pond almost. And a lot of people don't even bother putting hay down. But I was showing the young fellas a while ago, there's already fescue seed coming up in here. This has only been seeded about 3 weeks. And without that hay put down, we would not be having any green coming up at all. It just won't. It all washes down into the bottom of that pond. So you paid good money to build the pond. Take a minute, get you some old hay, roll it out, and then get you a pitchfork and spread it. Don't have it very thick. This is going to make one heck of a nice fishing pond. And my brother-in-law and sister, this is on their property, and they saw Johnny working. I'd actually already dug out one small pond on their property. And they're like, you know, we got to look at that mud hole every day. Let's just talk with Johnny. So Johnny built this one. And the one across the ridge here was even worse. It only had about a foot of water in it. And it had that, just a slime green on it. And so what he did is he came in here and cut the dam on it. And there wasn't any trees except for one thorn tree. There was one big old thorn tree right there in the middle of that dam. Now these ponds, I didn't put any pipe in it. The reason was there wasn't any place to put it. There was no place to put a tank at the back. It's a real steep draw. And I've got a pond right up the hill there that we're going to use for livestock. So these are basically fishing ponds. And we're putting a wire around them. And this wire, we're even putting it around the dirt, or not the dirt, the mud. Because we don't want cows up in there. Now once that mud gets all drained out, it wouldn't hurt to let the cows kind of stomp around up in there, and they'll be eating grass. Because there's going to be a lot of good grass come up on that mud. Because it's really high fertility. And the animals will actually slough that off. Speaking from experience, I've done this quite a bit, and that's what they do. They slough it off. But look at this pond. This thing turned out to be a nice one too. We've already got the wire up around this one. Look at that. Again, we extended the hay clear down into the pond. And the reason you want to put your hay clear down to the very bottom almost is it may take 3, 4, 5, 6 months, depending on how much rain you get, for this pond to get half full. Well, in the meantime, if you got all this bare soil showing all the way around the circumference of that pond, where do you think that bare soil is going every time it rains? It's going in the pond. You just paid to get it dug out. Why didn't you take the time to put some hay down? It just doesn't take any time to do it. It takes a little time, but it doesn't take that much time. And this pond dam is just covered with fescue seed. Fescue plants. Look at these little guys coming up. You see the little, it's hard to see. There they are. See them? They're very delicate plants. Kentucky 31 is a very delicate plant when it first comes up. But once it gets its seed, or the roots down from the seed, and it gets set, it is a beast. It'll grow a sod that'll hold up a 1,000-pound cow in the biggest rainstorm you've got. And they won't tear your farm up either. It's a great thing to put on lake and pond dams and spillways because it holds the dirt. It will not let it leave. But boy, that looks pretty rough out there, doesn't it? There's a lot of dirt out there. But you know what? When that dries out good, we're going to have a lot of good fertility to spread out on these pastures, and that's going to grow a lot of grass. Because that's sediment from the last 70 years. That's what that is. And the previous managers of this farm, even before my sister and brother-in-law had it, I can remember there was cows in this pond. And they used to rent this farm out to people, and they bring cows in here and they just let them have the ponds. And you come out here on a hot day and that pond just be full of cattle. Just full. Pooping and peeing in it, dragging mud into it. That's not going to happen on this one. But it makes it so easy with high tensile wire and fiberglass posts. We just got in a whole shipment of these. We've got 1.25 inch solid fiberglass. Folks, you can get them in 4, 5, 6, and 7 footers. And we can see them up there on that hill. Well, you can't from here. But we're cutting those, and I tell you what, it's a great way to go around ponds and woods, anywhere you have a bend. We're just using up a bunch of scrap line posts here, but if this fence was going to stay in, I'd be using Timeless. I wouldn't be using these fiberglass. I'd use Timeless, because you don't ever have to worry about painting them or drilling them. And they got a 20-year warranty on the surface finish. I'm telling you, they're the way to go, especially if you're running multi-wires, because it's got 14 different holes in the post that you can select from to get your height on your fence. But the beautiful thing about these fiberglass is anywhere you have a bend, see all these posts around here? Anywhere you have a bend in your fence, you can drive one of those fiberglass rods and it will hold your fence. And we're not even using any tensioners on this. We're just hand pulling it. That wire's tight. That was hand pulled. Now we didn't pull it very far. Maybe, this particular run here might be 600 feet, but it's straight. Semi straight. But see how tight that is? That's 12 gauge, 180,000 PSI, high tensile galvanized wire. It's not soft. And we have a feeder wire that is right above that pond we can run down to make this hot. So there's not going to be any livestock tramping around in my sister and brother-in-law's ponds. They pay good money to have dug out, and you don't want to be having livestock there. So these are going to make some really nice fishing ponds. And we weren't getting anything out of them, and it improves the value of your property. Protect it. So once this gets all seeded, this wire will be removed that goes down and around all that trees and stuff, and that'll all be sloughed off with a dozer. And then when the cows come in here, we can graze everything that's not water. Okay. Now, if you bring cattle in on that dam, it's been just new grass come up, you don't want to do that. But if it's dry and you got 12 inches of fescue out there, you hit it. Let them mow it, because if you don't, I can promise you what's going to grow up on that dam. It's going to be brush. That's what happens out here. If you don't put animals on it, it becomes brush. And once it becomes brush, you don't have anything. But see, here's the Jenny. That Jenny's been sitting right there since we got here. We ran it one direction around the pond, and the boys are down there right now putting the hangman's knot like that. And on this one, we're just wrapping it by hand to carry the power on around, because all this will be coming out and moved a little bit depending on where the final water level is. Look at that. That's a good looking fence. Darn good looking fence. And see, that's a 1 inch 5-footer right there. It's drove in the ground, and it's as solid as a tree. It's just not going anywhere. So anyway, I think I'm gonna sign off here. We're gonna wrap this up, and we're gonna go move the sheep here in a little bit and the cow mob. And it's just a beautiful day, November 11th. This Saturday is opening day of deer season here in Missouri for rifle, and hopefully Isaac and I will go out and see what we do. Put some venison in the freezer. So anyway, everyone have a good one, and we'll see you all down the road. Hit that subscribe button on the way out and the like, and I'd appreciate it. And everyone, be safe out there.